I am just quickly checking my mic. Apparently, I can't be heard. I am. Yeah, hello. And yeah, seems to be working now. and so, guys, I think, yeah, one of the main things becomes to figure out a way in which we can differentiate between sadness and depression. Um, while I think overwhelming sadness is something that a lot of depressed people experience, it's also one of the first signs through which you detect depression. But all of us feel sadness once a week, maybe a once in a couple of weeks. Sadness is a really essential and an aspect of the human experience that can't be taken away or can't be removed, and it ebbs and comes like any other emotion, but you start requiring help when it's the thoughts or the feelings are so overwhelming that you either can't function, or even if you are functioning, it's hampering other aspects of your life. So usually there's some impact on the way that we want to function in life, which is usually what depression looks like. So usually depression lasts for a certain period of time before you can even clinically classify it that way. So, about 2 weeks at the very least before you classify something as depression. There are a lot of physiological symptoms that then start showing up along with just feeling really sad. So, there's a loss of appetite, or there's too much appetite, or there is either too much sleep or too little sleep. So, a lot of physiological changes like that. A lot of people start experiencing anhedonia, which is the loss of pleasure in activities that usually give us an immense amount of pleasure or a lot of joy. So, a lot of things like that. And apart from that, a constant sense of low mood. In terms of a cognitive or an emotional experience, a lot of people start experiencing loss of meaning, loss of purpose, and start raising a lot of questions around that. Some people start feeling so numb that self harm or suicidal thoughts, suicidal tendencies are some of the extremes to which severe depression can even take us to. So, those are some of the things that usually happen, and that's how clinically we look at depression. That what are the facets of life that are getting impacted by a depressive tendency or a depressive condition, and and apart from that, I think how much is that person in distress? I think distress often becomes my main metric of understanding if we can call anything as something that is a disorder, right? So, I think along with this, one really important thing to remember is that any sort of classification of a disorder is only relevant if that allows us to see a map, a path to how this can be treated or taken care of. And that's really important to remember. So, the word in itself, depression, sounds really intimidating, right? We use it so much. Everyone talks about it like a condition that, oh my God, it's really serious. But I think what we do after that, how do we map things post that in terms of our treatment? How do we take care of ourselves? That's usually what the word is intended to imply or tell us more about. So if it helps us with that, that's something that's really, really important. But in the absence of that, a diagnosis alone can't help us. So that's something that's really important to remember. If a friend or a colleague or anyone around you tells you that they have depression, or even if you yourself have been diagnosed, that diagnosis in itself shouldn't be scary, right? This is the first step towards you having more empowerment, more control over the way that you can take care of yourself, more information about what you can do to take better care of your health. That's all that this diagnosis intends to do. And apart from that, again, a really important point is to also remember that this is something that is treatable. A lot of people either take care of this with talk therapy, some people require medication, that's the psychiatric approach to it. And whichever approach works for you, I think it's definitely okay to ask your psychiatrist or your psychologist for as much information as you want about what approach they're taking, what methodology they're choosing. It's okay to get in all of that information, and it's okay to also keep questioning, um, the choice of treatment, the choice of modality. Keep asking questions, keep trying to learn what is the process that you are a part of. So any sort of treatment approach needs to be collaborative, and that again is something that's really, really important to remember and think about. So yeah, I think in terms of depression, I think that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys broadly about. I'm just gonna take a quick look at the questions because I think we're getting a lot of questions on the side as well, and just see if I can integrate some of the answers. So a lot of people here are actually also coming in and telling me that there are certain schools of thought that really help them. For some people, a humanistic approach from their therapist really helped. A lot of people have been positively impacted by CBT. But again, I would say that do your own research, read up, find out. You are always welcome to write to us, or you can come onto the coach platform and discuss more things about your situation or any sort of questions you have about your mental health if you want to do that. I think some of our viewers here are also sharing really interesting things about their own experiences and about what depression feels like to them. And I think that's something that's beautiful, right? That I think as psychiatrists or psychologists, um, we try to categorize something in a way that is universal. But the amazing part of any sort of such experience is that even something that's so painful and so distressing, we have really poetic and unique ways of communicating what we're feeling. And that makes us understand a little bit better about how many pieces to this puzzle exist right now. So there was someone who I was once close to and was experiencing depression, and she would often describe her own depression as sitting at the bottom of a well, and she was always trying to locate that silver ladder within that well. And if she could, then maybe she could climb out of the well and reach that place of functionality that everyone constantly wants us to be in. This normalcy, this functionality that we all seek, and we're all expected to constantly have. But I think most of us are not always functional, or not always as functional as society wants us to be. We're all sitting at the bottom of a dark well on a lot of days. But it's important to figure out what our silver ladders look like and how do we relocate them when they're lost or when we've fallen back at the bottom of that deep well again. And yeah, there was someone else who explained their own depression to me as feeling like they're drowning, but everyone else is breathing around me. So feeling like the only person drowning or the only person without a life jacket. But yeah, everyone else around me seems to be just fine. So yeah, I think that sort of helps explain to me or makes me understand better um, just how out of control or how overwhelmed we feel in an experience like this. That you feel like your thoughts and emotions have taken over you so much or so deeply that you don't feel like you're in complete control of the situation here. And that in itself, I think, can make us feel powerless or in absence of control in a whole different way. And yeah, and I think these again are important things to remember when we try to empathize with someone else. Um, because again, a question that we often encounter is that, okay, my friend or my partner told me that they're depressed. I understand, and I've been told that it's absolutely okay to have this condition. But how do I truly empathize with them? How do I understand what to do here? And I think something again that becomes really important to remember is that um, yeah, that it's essential to remember that we can't take away the sadness or the frustration or the time that each person takes to heal in their own separate ways. It's different for each person, and sometimes all you can be is patient with that person or give that person some time. And there's a really beautiful video that Brené Brown has on empathy versus sympathy, and how it's really important to remember that when you're empathizing, what that looks like is sitting in the darkness with the person, as opposed to trying to constantly switch the lights on. And um, and the thought stays with me really often, that it's really uncomfortable for a lot of us to be that person, to sit in the darkness, and it takes a lot of effort to not switch the lights on, because, well, that's how I'm comfortable. But for a person in distress, um, that's sometimes all they need. They need a little bit of company, a little bit of support, and then we all find our ways out of that place. So, yeah, I think that's broadly what I want to offer right now. I wanted to know a little bit about what you guys think, or if any of you have any questions about what we're discussing today. If you want to share any of your lived experiences, or if you have any questions about how you want to think through depression, or if you have any confusions about if you're even depressed or not, and if the person around you is depressed or not. Have those been questions that any of you struggled with or thought about? So, yeah, I think that's something that I would love to hear from all of you. So, okay, an interesting question that's coming up right now is Jacob, who's just asked me that what are some of the ways that ADHD can interact with depression? That's really interesting. I think um, so what ends up happening often is that if you see in an individual with high functioning ADHD, or someone with an extremely high level of intelligence but unable to focus on something properly, I think that capacity for distractibility or a lack of attention increases even more if they're also feeling clinically depressed at the same time. So things that they were managing or were mediating through their high level of intelligence, that's something, that becomes difficult to mediate. If they were already struggling with ADHD and were unable to mediate it with any other resilient factors within them, then I think the situation becomes even more complicated, because I think even they're already feeling really distracted, they're being unable to focus on anything, a lot of their energy is anyway going on all of these things. Something that would end up happening there is that it would become really hard to diagnose them initially, because so many people would be focusing on their ADHD or the symptoms, or the behavioral problems that most parents end up focusing on, because of which any sort of depressive mood would be either seen as unusual if that person is hyperactive, or not noticed at all, because there are already so many things that their caregiver has to manage. So that, I think, becomes slightly worrying if you're thinking about multiple diagnoses on one person. But I think I would expect a lot more distraction, a lot more inability to mediate with just their intellectual capacities, and a struggle with that. Yeah. Um, Apart from that, okay, then Zilianis now is asking me that sometimes they get angry, which then causes them to leave the conversation or be alone, making me upset. Um, I think it's hard for me to say on the basis of just that if that's a sign of depression or not. I think I see that more as, um, yeah, I think for some people it's a manner through which we deal with our emotions or anger, because it's hard for us to communicate what we're feeling in a different way. And yeah, and apart from that, I think sometimes it's hard to stay for what the other person is going to say to us, or how they are going to mediate the conflict. So I think I would sort of put all of these questions in that domain of perhaps anger or communication issues as opposed to depression. I don't think this statement in itself says depression to me, but but I'm sure that it does lead to a deep sense of sadness what you're experiencing. But thanks for sharing that. And I can see that there are some people here who are also talking about the fact that they don't feel happiness, or that's really difficult to get out of bed. I hear you, and it sounds like a lot of struggle. I think in terms of anything that you can do for yourself, it's really helpful to find at least one thing that you just like in your day. It doesn't need to be something that's super productive. It doesn't need to be something that everyone else is telling you to do, but just one thing that makes you get out of bed. And so, just one thing that you like for now. That can be at least a starting point through which you can feel just a little more motivated. And I strongly urge for all of you that if you're feeling this way, please talk to someone around you. It's absolutely okay to keep talking, to talk about your distress to the people around you. So if you are feeling this way, then communicate it to the people around you and make sure that they know how you're feeling. It's not okay. It is absolutely not okay to be the only person who is distressed, or the only person who is feeling sad, or and sometimes it's a play of our minds that we're feeling so alone. So talk to someone today for sure, and absolutely don't hesitate in seeking out professional help if that's what you think is the most easiest available safe space. If you have access to the internet, there are so many options that you have right there. We can make sure we redirect you if there is something that you immediately want to talk about and you're above the age of consent. Definitely reach out to us on Wysa. And Wysa, of course, well, yeah, I love the fact that we can talk to Wysa at any hour, and that the penguin is always there with us if if nothing else. So keep talking. Make sure that there is, and just know that there is someone who is always listening to you. That's really important. Um, and and I know that sometimes people don't have the right words when we talk to them about our distress. And that can be really frustrating, and it makes us stop talking to them. Like someone here is mentioning that, well, they just keep telling me that I'll get through it or this will be okay. And I don't think that's true, which I think is fair enough, that they may not have the right words or the words you want to hear right now. But yeah, I think it also means that there is someone who's trying to look out for you, not in the best way. And if this is not the way that you need it, at least speak to a counselor or speak to a therapist apart from speaking to your family. So make sure those things are happening. Um, and and I can assure you that you will find the spaces that you need. I think one of the coolest things that the internet has done, apart from making all these services available, right, is that there's so many survivors now, so many people who will have similar lived experiences to you, whom you can also speak to. And I think that's the best way to just know that there are some aspects of this experience that everyone is trying to figure out for themselves and trying to understand what they can do, what they cannot do, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what has helped them in the past. So it's great to reach out to therapeutic communities if and when you finally feel ready to be seen, when you finally feel like you can reach out for the support that you need, then talk to your family or talk to a therapist, talk to a mental health professional. And all of that, I think, yeah, I think that should help with how you're feeling right now. Um, yeah. Um, There's someone here who's asking right now that sometimes it's really hard for them to take their medication, and that is something that becomes a struggle or becomes really really difficult for them, even though they know that this medication will help them. um, I think one of my clients used to find it really helpful to, well, eat something nice with it, or yeah, or something that would motivate them for later. Or I think apart from all of us, like, as parents or as teachers, we all set different kinds of behavioral mechanisms for our children or for our family members. But it's the same thing to do it for yourself. So you can set a reward for yourself. If you already know that your medication is important for you, set a reward for yourself on the days that you manage to take it. And tell yourself that, okay, this is one good thing that I did for myself today. So, what that can look like is, well, you can always, for some people it can be food, for some people it can be, well, I don't know, watching one episode of a series that they really like. So small rewards that perhaps you don't do that often, or going out for a walk, but make sure that you're telling yourself that this is a reward because I did something so good for myself today. And that's going to be also one of the building blocks in what's helping me right now. So as long as you keep telling yourself that, you're also letting your body and your soul and your mind know that I'm taking care of myself. I'm in a tough place right now. There's a lot that I need to get through. There's a lot that I need to figure out for myself right now. But I'm going to make sure that the things are going to be okay, that everything's going to be fine. And one of the ways in which I'm going to ensure that is just by making sure that I take my meds on a daily basis. And that's one of the first things that I'm going to do. um, yeah, and another friend of ours here is sharing, another viewer of ours is talking about how sometimes when they're alone or when they're done with their work, when they're done with their day, is when the depression really starts to hit in. All the negative thoughts come out then, and it becomes really difficult to figure out what to do then. Like all the distress comes together at once, like a huge tsunami. And yeah, I think I completely get that. I think it's it feels like we've stayed busy for the entire day, and that's been fine, that's been okay and easy to manage. But as soon as we go back to a silent room or to anything that has quiet, suddenly we have to actually think about just everything that our mind has been stopping us from thinking about the whole day, and that's so painful. But I think again, I think the first step often becomes cognizance. That if you already know that about yourself, that's a great first step. Then you know that the next time you go in your room, what is something that you need to be prepared for? Is there one small, tiny, positive thing that you can say to yourself when all the negative thoughts start coming in? Is there one thing that you can say to yourself? And can we start from there? And before sleeping, if those thoughts are continuing to come in, then is there one relaxation video that you can have? Is there a guided relaxation that you need for sleep? Is there something that you would want to say to yourself before you sleep? That I haven't felt that good about myself today, and it's been a struggle, but I'm also happy that I pulled through this day. I made it through this day, and I'm happy about that. And that's a good start for me today. And yeah, there's someone here now who's asking us that is it normal if you have depression to get upset about little things? Um, I think I would understand it as a part of how low someone may be feeling. Like when we're not feeling good about ourselves or life and can't understand what's happening or what's just just what we're doing. I think it's understandable that our capacity for other people's emotions or what's happening around us lessens. So I understand that there may be a higher chance for that person to snap or that person to have a stronger emotional reaction. So yes, I think it definitely can happen. So if I think people around you are feeling this way, I think it's possible that they may be upset more often than you may like to or may want to deal with. And yeah, that can definitely be a struggle. Um, there's another really courageous viewer who's sharing that when I wake up every morning, it's really scary for them, and it's really scary for them that no one understands this thing. I just want to let that person know that we are here and we're here to listen to you. We are here to understand, and we are one of the many million people around you who are talking about this, who are thinking about this, who have solutions for this. And you have so many people around you who are feeling just as alone because this struggle does that to us. It's so internal that we don't know how to talk about it. All of us are struggling with this, but we don't know how to communicate it or how to even know if the other person is experiencing the same struggle as us. But a good thing to do is that a good thing for yourself to do is just by talking to one person. Just start with that and take it from there. Mm, yeah, there's another viewer of ours who's now asking us that is it normal to not care about anything when someone's depressed or when yeah, that whether you like it or love it, none of those feelings get triggered, which actually is a really common feature of depression, like really clinically speaking. That the things that normally give us pleasure or things that normally make us really happy, it's really hard for that to keep eliciting us joy. So that rarely happens. That doesn't happen as often. So yeah, I think that's really common. But know that this is something that's a temporary feeling. When you're feeling better, when you're feeling more grounded, when when you're just feeling more balanced internally, all that pleasure and all that joy will start coming back into your life. So don't be scared if you are feeling this way right now, and know that this is something that everyone experiences when they are experiencing depression. So that's something that's really important to know. Um, yeah. There's another friend of ours who's now asking us that, sometimes that also makes them feel evil, perhaps, or selfish because they feel the need to get away from others. They can't take care of another person, which again is super understandable. It's really hard to just manage anyone else's emotions, I guess, when we're feeling this low on the inside. It's okay to take a step back to just take care of ourselves first, know what we need for ourselves, and take it from there. I don't think any of us honestly have the capacity to give when we are feeling empty or we're not feeling good on the inside. So, yeah, I think honestly, as a therapist, I think I know for a fact that I haven't had the capacity to be a therapist every single day of my life. So it's only when I felt good or I've taken care of myself internally is when I've been able to give or to offer a safe space or unconditional positive regard to someone else. So take that first step and feel better about yourself, and you will be able to offer the things that you want to offer to people around you. Yeah, and yeah, um, I think a lot of the things that we've talked about today. Firstly, thank you so much, all of you who are watching, for sharing so honestly about your struggles, about the things that are worrying you. I think I've tried to address some of the questions and comments that are coming across right now, but I definitely haven't addressed all. Um, I yeah, I'm sending so much light and strength and positivity to each person who's watching this right now. I hope all of you will also take a second, and whatever energy you wish to share with all the people who are connected to you in this community right now, you will share all the love and light. And know that there is help. There are people to talk to, constantly available. So make sure you reach out and make sure you take care of them. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much, guys, for your time, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.